Hello, Grapplers. Welcome to the Silver Grappler. I am the Silver Grappler. Today, we're going to talk about tips for the new grappler, the new older grappler. But I'm going to do things slightly differently. I've got a bunch of clips from different BJJ related celebrities, and we're going to do a little bit of a reaction video with each of them, see what they have to say. Again, really pick out the details that apply to the older grappler. Then, what I'd like to do, if you stay tuned to the end, I'll give you 5 top tips for older grapplers, and we'll go through and we'll talk a bit about them. The video is going to be split up into sections, so if there's a specific section you'd like to jump to and refer back in the future, this video is designed for you. A bit about myself. I've been training Jiu-Jitsu for just over 20 years. I am a second degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a Carlson Gracie lineage. My original martial art, and we didn't know it was a martial art, I grew up doing freestyle wrestling. I dabbled for years in judo and taekwondo, and just really from day one fell in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's been kind of my life. I owned a gym for a little while. These days, I'm the head of the kids and teens program at my current gym, and still grappling on a daily basis. So sit back, relax. Let's have a look at these videos and comment and see what we can learn together. Right, here we have Jocko talking a bit. He's going to throw a bunch of tips in here. So hopefully we can stop and talk a bit about a couple of them.
When you do learn something new, it takes time to incorporate it into your game. So if I taught you Echo a new move tonight, I said, hey, here's this cool, here's this new setup for the arm lock, and we drilled it 10 times, and you went now and started to apply that, it would make your game worse because you'd be trying to apply a move that you don't know 100% yet. Like, you got some good, solid moves that you do, and those are, those work really well. So when you start incorporating this new move, right, you don't know it well. You don't get it all together. So you're going to fail at it.
Listen, that's not a bad thing. I kind of a little bit disagree. He seems to be discouraging it, but I think what he's trying to do is just give you a reality check that you're going to learn something new. It's not going to necessarily work right away. I'm the philosophy. Not only do I tell the kids that I teach, I tell young adults, and I tell the old guys, if you learn something new and you think it applies to your game, you have to try it out. You're going to fail. Okay, you're going to fail over and over. So the idea with the failures is accept them, learn from them, ask questions on how you can figure out what went wrong. Hey, I had trouble blocking the leg. I have no idea what happened, why that failed. Well, that's the point of having teammates. That's the point of having instructors, is you ask them the question. So then you get more chances to drill. You keep working that technique, and then you keep trying to apply it. At a certain point in time, you're going to have to say, hey, is this technique for me or not? Everyone's completely different. So you have to pick the techniques that work for your body type, for your age, for your style. There's so many considerations. But if you're not trying the new technique, you're not learning anything.
100 times. It's not going to work 100 times before you get it. And by the way, every time you tried it on me, I got on top and then I smashed you. And then
okay.
So you're sacrificing, and it's in every time. So you're actually going backwards a little bit before you can go forward.
Exactly.
So that's problematic, and that's very, very frustrating. Occasionally you might learn something that really improves your game dramatically, almost instantly. That happens from time to time. Someone will say, hey, put your arm position here, or hey, whatever the case may be.
I call that the golden nuggets. So you're going to go to as many classes as you possibly can. You always are trying, my English is horrible. You're always trying to learn something. So are you going to learn a new technique every single class? At some point in time, you're going to get to a point where, well, you've learned that technique. The instructor is saying the same thing. Oh, is he saying the same thing? Are you really listening to what he's saying? So even if the instructor has gone through a specific move before, maybe you've heard him say it 5 times before, listen. Okay, so as you gain knowledge, you're going to pick up what we call the information nugget. Oh my gosh, I've been doing that half guard that way for so long, and I didn't understand I could grab a particular grip. I can grab the elbow. I should be grabbing the collar that way. Is it deep? Is it medium? Is it low? Where is he grabbing? Those are the golden nuggets that you're always trying to pick up on. Those are the game changers.
But generally, when you incorporate something new, it can take some time. You're going to get injuries. You're going to get little injuries. You're going to get big injuries. You're going to be sore. So yes, you will be frustrated. So how do you counter all that? You just got to embrace it. You got to embrace all those things. You got to enjoy all those things.
Embrace the grind. You're going to hear that a lot.
And I hate to be cliche here, but you got to enjoy the journey. You got to enjoy getting tapped out by somebody that's small. Be amazed by that.
Yep.
Say, dang, how did that just happen? That is impressive.
Yep.
Say, hey, got a little war scar on my face. I got, split the...
Show me how you did that. How did you tap me? Okay, show me how you did it. I have no clue how you passed my guard. Show me how you did that. Okay, it's give and take. We're partners. We're teammates. That's what it's all about. You got to talk to your partners.
The eye open. Okay, cool. Chicks dig scars. Just gonna go.
Lots of those.
Don't look at all that stuff as negative. Look at it as, it's like, don't rush to the end. Don't rush to the end. Don't be in a rush to get there. Take your time and enjoy the sights that you're gonna go for. Also, I've said this before. Select your training partners carefully, especially like you're 54 years old. You don't want to be rolling with a 20-year-old steroid freak that's going white belt trying to kill you. You want to be rolling with a cool, mellow purple belt that's wants to do jiu-jitsu and train. And finally, I would just say, remember that jiu-jitsu should be fun. It should be all those other things, all those frustrating, all those challenges, all those things, all that humiliation and getting humbled. But it should be a good time.
Let's leave it on that note for Jocko. You have to embrace it. So you're embracing the grind. It's not all negative, right? There's so much positives that's going to happen. You, without even realizing it, you are going to get better. You are going to get stronger. You are going to be able to stretch a lot better. You are going to be a lot more mobile. It's just tremendous. I can't emphasize enough how good jiu-jitsu is for the younger crowd and especially the older crowd. It's just one of those sports that we can keep doing until we can't. And I'm still going. I'm 53, so we're still going. I have training partners that are in their 60s. It is the journey. Okay, let's see what we have next. All right, here we have Hodger Gracie, the great Hodger Gracie. Let's see what he has to say.
Try to absorb as much technique as you can and try to be as relaxed as you can. Don't desperately try to fight so hard.
Don't spaz. If you don't know what spaz means, it just means going nuts and using every ounce of energy that you have to try to achieve whatever you think you need to achieve.
Like learn and move slow.
Move slow and relax.
That's the hardest thing to do.
It is the hardest thing to do.
The hardest.
You know what I find with people, it seems like it's hard to even know that you're not relaxed. It's like the introspection. They don't even know what it feels like to relax.
Not even know they tense.
Yeah, right.
They try to relax. They look at you, say, "What?
Yeah.
What do you mean relax? I'm relaxed."
Exactly. Exactly.
They're shaking.
Listen, a little bit of a reality note on there. Again, I've been doing this quite a while. When I owned the gym, one of the things you're always trying to do is look at who stays and who doesn't. What's the retention rate? You know, you're always trying to build a community and always trying to build the friendship, that team spirit. I like, since I was an older guy, I always like to foster the older guy crew. And you could see it right out of the gate. It's all those guys that are like, you know, everyone does it. But it's the guys or girls that slow down or eventually realize you can't be doing that the whole time. Slowing down and breathing, believe it or not, it's amazing how you see people just holding their breath as they're pushing forward. Again, the folks that consistently go to that all in mode, they're not going to last. You can't last. You can't learn in that mode. For those who eventually learn how to relax, how to breathe, that is the art.
You feel it. And in terms of going slow, they're like, yeah, well, I am going slow. No,
going
you're
slow.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's so many times.
there's a grace and elegance of movement.
Problem. But how does the white belt?
Okay, we jumped there. Now we're going to go to Craig Jones. But again, back on that, I think that is so key, is just take everything in stride and just keep it calm. Let's see what Greg Jones has to say.
Okay, good. I think just have to show up. Just have to put in the effort. Try to focus on using techniques in training rather than just fighting to the death.
There you go.
Although that is entertaining for us to watch, two white belts fight to the death.
Guilty. Especially Friday nights, we have beer night, and all the older guys. I'll say, I won't even say just the black belts and the brown belts. Like there's a whole bunch of us, and we just love kind of sitting on the side and watching the white and blue belts literally murdering each other. And spazzing out. And again, for the younger guys, it doesn't matter how many times you tell them. Most of them are gonna spaz, and just, well, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they do nothing but spaz because they have the energy, right? That said, when we see the older guys in those situations, hey, we pull them aside and say, hey, relax, slow it down, take it easy. But yeah, it's like watching Gladiators some night. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but what are the techniques you should focus on? Like, what's the process? What does it mean to show up? Like, how much drilling, all that kind of stuff. Like, what if you were to optimize the first 6 months of a beginner? There's a lot of people who would listen to this and haven't tried. They've been curious. I have a lot of friends who are like jiu-jitsu curious. They're constantly looking for an excuse to start.
I think it's just got to be as simple as possible. You know, like we shouldn't be teaching more advanced movements. I mean, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, there's highly advanced techniques, and then there's slightly advanced.
Like what?
Okay, that was short and sweet. Let me just back up there. Let's talk a bit about that. Go to beginner's class. And what he's not saying, he said advanced and intermediate techniques, basics. The top level in the world. And let's go back to Hodger. I could have spent all day just on Hodger's comments. Even his moves are the most basic moves, but he takes the basics to the next level. To build a foundation in jiu-jitsu, you have to understand the basics. So don't jump over the beginner class. Go to the beginner class. That's where your real learning is done. The intermediate and advanced classes, if your school allows you to go to those classes, I still think those are worthwhile going to. There's two things. One, you're going to get the advanced movements. Two, you're going to meet the higher belts, and you're going to find that crowd that are going to work with you. And if you have a partner with a bit more experience, they're going to help you out. I think that's key. That said, you're always going to learn more in the fundamentals class. Okay, so do not skip fundamentals class. That is key. All right. If you're going to do research, you've been in jiu-jitsu 1 or 2 months, don't go researching berimbolo. Don't go in researching advanced techniques. Type in basics. Type in BJJ fundamentals. Okay, and that's going to take you a lot further. All right, who do we have next?
You know, like we should be teaching more advanced movements. I mean, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, there's highly advanced techniques, and then there's slightly advanced.
Like, one of the things about
Mr. Joe
jujitsu,
Rogan?
this is a very important lesson for anybody who knows
Forget what
jujitsu,
he
because a
says
lot of
here.
people don't like this aspect of jujitsu. Some people have this meathead idea that the way to get good at jujitsu
There's a
is to
theme.
go against the hardest guys, get your ass kicked, and that's how you learn. Actually, that's the wrong way to learn. The best way to get good at jujitsu is to strangle blue belts. You go and
Okay, that's a probably not a beginner tip, right? It's here's what I take of it, and he's going to continue on, but I thought I'd pause it here. Now I'm kind of remembering the clip now. If you're a white belt and you're just starting off, one of the most common things that I get when I walk over to a white belt or a blue belt and I say, especially the brand new white belts, and I say, hey, let's roll. And they look at me, I go, you're a black belt. I don't want to waste your time. I go, what mystic aura is here? I was like, it's just the belt. And then I talk to them a bit. I go, listen, I'm helping you. This is a win-win relationship, and you need to understand that when you're at your gym. Okay, it's a win-win situation. Number one, I'm training my future partner. Okay, so after a few years of doing jiu-jitsu, you're the perfect partner for me. Especially if you're an older guy or girl, you're a training partner. I'm developing a training partner. You get to learn my style, and then you're going to find counters against me. Okay, you're going to build up that knowledge. Number two, you get an opportunity to work with a higher belt. You're not wasting my time. Okay, as a higher belt, I'm looking at a lower belt. What can I teach them to make them better? Number two, what am I working on? Okay, remember, I'm always working on stuff. Just black belts don't know everything. I don't care what anybody says. All the black belts don't know. There's some upper echelon guys. Yeah, sure, they have a lot of knowledge, but for most of the black belts, we're always in learning mode. We're always trying something new. So I need to try certain techniques out on a white belt, and then I go to blue belt, then I go to purple belt, then I go to brown belt. If I can jump a few steps, then that means the technique's working really well. But I'm working on a few things. I'm working out some things. I'm playing with reactions. I'm not necessarily going for a move. I just want to push a certain way and see if I can make you react a certain way. So it's always a win-win situation. When you get to be a higher belt, then you could do what Joe says. You work with the lower belts, right? You practice your technique.
you find people that are just learning, but they're not as good as you, and you choke the fuck out of them. That's how you get really good at your technique. And people say, well, that's bullying. Well,
No.
It is important for the blue belt to, at some point, spar with black belts. It is important because or purple belts or brown belts, because you need to know that there's a higher level of proficiency, there's a higher level of skill, and then there's a shorter distance in between points that these guys are hitting. They're cutting the chase. They're capitalizing on very small openings, and they clamp down, and when they capitalize on these small openings, they get submissions quicker. So you have to know that there are guys that are better. That's important.
There's always better.
To drill, the most important thing is drilling.
Drilling. There's some philosophies on that. Like, I'll probably make a video of that on the future, drilling versus sparring, and drilling during sparring. That's another option. But ecological training, that's I have a video talking about that already, but I'll get into that in more depth. But let's keep listening.
And when you drill with like someone of your level, and you just practice on each other. Like, you choke me, and you'll do it like twice, and I'll choke you, I'll do it twice, and it's just practice. And maybe you'll resist like 50%. Like, sometimes, like, you'll do a drill, and I'll pretend to be resisting. I'll resist like a little bit so that you strangle me and choke, because that simulates real life, simulates how it would be in
My favorite drill for the last month, I would say, whether it's for kids, teens, or adults, is I call it the slow, medium, fast drill. So if we take the example of passing the guard, and you don't need to wait for the instructor to do this, you can do it with your partner. So you start off slow. Your partner's letting you pass the guard. Let's say you're doing a knee through cut, and you're passing and you're passing. Then someone's going to say it. Usually I say it as the coach or instructor, or you guys decide amongst yourself. You go medium. Now your partner's resisting a little bit more. It's like, oh, geez, it's so easy now. I got to start solving these little puzzles. Okay. And then ultimately there's hard. Okay. This time the person's like, thou shalt not pass. They will not let you pass. They're not going to sweep you. They're not going to submit you. They're not going to let you pass. Just as you're about to pass, they're going to regain their guard. They will not let you pass. So the slow, medium, fast drill, it's a great way of learning.
You're supposed to be building your muscle memory. But the real way to do it, after you do that, to get it really sharp, is to practice on people with a limited amount of proficiency, just to choke the shit out of them. So that's like the way that you ultimately get better, is to practice on people that aren't quite as good as you. And then you eventually develop, and you get to a point where, that seems kind of impractical,
Okay. That was some good insight from Joe. Now we have Mr. Gordon Ryan. Look at that. Let's see what he has to say.
Nothing worse than walking in on your first day and just having no sense of direction as to where you should be going.
I still have no sense of direction where I'm going. It's been over 20 years.
Many people walk in, they get taught a new move every day, and so here's a move today, here's a move tomorrow, and do your best with it. The whole goal of our sport is to be able to submit your opponent. Okay, picture yourself on top mount against somebody, and you want to go for an armbar, but you know that if you go for that armbar from top mount and you lose it and you end up on bottom and maybe in side control or with your back taken perhaps, that there's no way you're ever going to be able to escape, right? The chance of you attempting that armbar drastically decrease because of the fear that you'll get held in a situation or submitted if you were to lose that armbar.
Goes back to something we talked about earlier, is not being afraid to make mistakes. So he's going to keep building on that and what you should think about. But again, we're all guilty. I'm still guilty of it at black belt. It's like, oh, I'm not going to go for that. This is a tough roll. I'm not going to take the chance. We're practicing. Get over it, right? I kind of slow down, and I'm more cautious in certain positions because I still have the wrestler's mentality. I hate losing position over submission. You're going to hear a lot of folks talk about that as well. So I hate losing it. So I like to minimize my risk when I'm going for something. But when you get into leg lock fun, you're going to have to sacrifice position sometimes. And let's listen to what he says here.
So you end up just holding positions. You hold mount for the whole round, and then nothing ever happens. You kind of lose that sense of going into a match with the idea of, okay, I have to control this guy, but I also have to eventually submit him. So what gives you the confidence to open up and to go for attacks and try to go for submissions is your ability to escape both bad positions and submissions. So that if you have the confidence where you can escape, now you're in top mounted in an armbar, you can confidently go for that armbar knowing that even if you miss it, you end up bottom guard, bottom.
Getting my ass kicked for so many years. Some guys say, oh, I have a wicked guard. I play butterfly guard. Butterfly half guard is kind of my style. I've got a wrestler's top game. I love to grind on the top. If someone was to ask me what my best skill set is, I would have to say escapes. Again, you get pounded into you where you're just escaping and regarding. I really think that's the unheralded skill set that gyms don't work enough on. Whether you're learning specific techniques or sequence of techniques. What I try to work a lot with my kids program more specifically is turning escapes into attacks. Okay, so being able to escape and then turn it into an attack, that is a skill set that's not talked enough about. But let's keep going here.
Half guard, bottom side control, bottom mount with your back taken, with you in an armbar. Yourself, the guy ends up and mount on you after you fail, and he gets an armbar. That you can either escape those bad positions or those submissions.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing you should be looking at which is the opposite of what most people tell you. Most people tell you how to attack first. Is actually escaping bad positions and submissions. Okay, so from white to blue belt, you should focus on your pin escapes and submission escapes. All right,
You're not gonna have any choice.
this will give you the confidence at later belts to be able to go in and actually attack your own submissions, knowing that if you end up in a bad spot, that you can escape and easily go back into your offensive attacking cycle. So from white to blue belt, you start by first learning how to escape and defend, and then from purple to black belt, that's when you focus on going in.
You know, it's weird. This reminds me of a quick story. When I was at blue belt, I got into Talus. I'm aging myself there. Who remembers Talus? Who was famous for the turtle guard. And, you know, he would take that defensive escape position and he would turn it into an attack turtle. Again, that concept of escapes and then countering with an attack. And I remember for almost a solid year, I drove people crazy because I would slap hands, you know, and then I would get down into the turtle position to start, and I got really good at it, right? So a lot of the times, even at black belt now, you know, if I get into trouble, you know, I'll get to that turtle position where I'm like so confident I'm either going to roll out of it and re-guard, or I can even turn it into a submission, rolling knee bar. I can turn it into a Kimura, or just get back to a half guard, close guard, butterfly guard, depending on the situation. There's a few sweeps there too, so maybe we'll save that for a future video.
And attacking people. Okay, you have submissions, you have positions, guard passing, sweeps, things like that. All right, but without the ability and the confidence to escape bad spots, you're never going to have the confidence to go in and attack submissions, knowing that you could end up in a bad spot.
I always
That was great. Now we're at the master himself. I consider myself a bit of a disciple on the Danaher system. I love what he's done in with the sport and his philosophical approach. Totally forget what he's going to say here, but I'm sure it's going to be mind-opening. So let's listen.
advocate start your training from the ground up.
Oh yeah.
Okay, your first sessions in jiu-jitsu, you're going to find, to your horror, that everyone gets on top of you and you can't
Especially
get
when
out.
you're older.
And it's a dispiriting, crushing kind of feeling that you just have no skills and you have no prospects in the sport. So your first skill is the skill of being able to free yourself from positional pins. Most of the escapes in jiu-jitsu go to guard position. And so once you get someone in your guard, they're going to be looking to pass your guard and get back into those positional pins that you just escaped from. And that's just as crushing as getting pinned. You feel like every time you try to hold someone in guard, they just effortlessly pass you by. So your first two skills, you got to be able to get out of any pin, and you got to be able to hold someone in your guard. So pin escapes and guard retention.
Well, you got to learn what a guard is. But he's absolutely right as far as you know, trying to start off the bottom or not being scared to be on the bottom. Again, you're going to be bad before you're good. But it's always fascinating to see, especially when you get someone that's coming from wrestling. You know, we're trained to be on top, you know, through our whole wrestling life. It's very difficult to start on the bottom. When you're an older grappler coming into the club, well, guess what? Even if you start on top, you're going to end up on the bottom. If you're a larger grappler, yeah, you feel great when you're on the top. You're using your weight. You're using your size. What are you going to do when you're on the bottom? The bigger guys, really, you know, they end up floundering when they're on the bottom. It's those bigger guys and the older guys that are willing to, hey, you know, I'm going to sit and play guard. Yeah, I know, sitting guard, bad word, you know. It's okay to pull guard, especially the older you are. You have to learn how to play guard. You need to learn, if you want to play on top, learn how to sweep and then get on top and then work a game from there.
Are your first two skills. I generally advocate the idea of learning to fight from your back first and then learning to fight from on top second. Why? Because the brute fact is, when you first start off, you just don't have enough skills to hold top position or gain top position through a takedown. So inevitably, you're going to end up underneath people for most of your training time. Your training should reflect that in the early days as a white belt.
Right.
Start with the first 2 skills you need. They're not the most exciting. They're not sexy skills that are going to make you look like a stud in the...
And they're the hardest. They're the hardest to learn. If you've never played bottom game before, it's completely foreign to you. Completely.
training room.
Other than up kicks. Everyone knows how to up kick.
But they're going to keep you alive long enough to learn those sexy skills in the future that will make you look like a stud. Start with pin escapes, go to guard retention, and focus heavily on those two. When you start to get into offense, start with bottom position. So there's a clear continuity between your pin escapes, your guard retention, and then your guard itself. Okay? You've got different options with guard. Some of you are going to like closed guard. Some of you are going to like variations of open guard. Some of you are going to like to be seated. Some of you are going to like to be supine. Some of you are going to like half guard. As a general rule, this is a heavy generalization, but I'm going to give it to you. In my experience, most people benefit the most by starting with half guard first. I know that traditionally Jiu-Jitsu has been taught closed guard first and then all the other guards come after that. I'm a big believer in the idea of start with pin escapes, then go to guard retention, and then start with half guard bottom. That way you get a nice continuity between your first 3 skills and you make good progress over those first critical 6 months in Jiu-Jitsu.
Why half guard? I thought about this, and I do teach a lot of half guard. It's not so easy to get to close guard. People don't want to be in your close guard. The beautiful thing about half guard, it's a transitionary guard. It's one of those guards that you get when you're escaping. You're escaping from side control. You're escaping from underneath mount. A lot of the escapes, you end up in half guard. So you need a good half guard. Then you start learning to transition to other guards. You can then put your feet on the hips, push them away. Then you can get your close guard. Okay? Jumping straight to close guard, it's super hard. I don't want to be in anybody's close guard. So the only way you're going to get anyone decent in close guard is by setting it up. And it's usually from a half guard. The other thing to think about, hey, if I'm in half guard, I can easily transition into butterfly guard. If they stand up, then I can transition into something down. When they come back down, it's easy for me to snap right into the half guard. So he's absolutely right. Try to focus your energy. Yes, close guard is the fundamental guard we're all going to learn early days, but spend some time researching half guard. It's a transitionary guard. It's a very effective guard. Okay, well, that brings us to the end over here. So let's jump over and I'll give you my 5 tips for older grapplers. Let me just start off by saying thank you for staying with us this far into the video. I hope you're getting a lot of value so far. Again, things are sectioned off, so if you need to come back at any time to revisit any of this, you can just jump right to the part that you want to revisit. Look into the description, and you'll see where the markers are. I'd love if you guys would comment, drop me a like, subscribe. That would really help out. But drop me a comment if this is the type of content that you're looking for. What other types of content are you looking for? But let's jump straight to the point. Again, thank you for staying with me. So the 5 tips. Number 1, we're already revisiting a lot of this stuff. You're going to see a theme in a lot of things that we're talking about. Show up. That's it. Show up. A lot of people, one of the most common things that I've heard, like friends of friends, or people dropping by, yeah, I'm really interested in trying jiu-jitsu. I need to get in shape first. That blows my mind. Get in shape for what, right? You're joining jiu-jitsu to get in shape. And it doesn't matter what you do to try to get in shape, whether you're doing weights, whether you're running, whether you're whatever exercises you're planning on doing. It's going to be nothing like the exercising that you're going to do once you're doing jiu-jitsu. So your best bet is just to show up, start training, listen to your body. Okay, if you are training a lot, you get addicted. It becomes a passion, and you're thinking about it all the time. The older you are, the more you need to listen to your body. Okay, if you're training a lot day after day, take a break. If you've trained several days in a row, let's say you've trained 3 days in a row for whatever reason, you better take at least a 2-day break. Okay, and then every once in a while, take a 3-day break. Listen to your body. If your body's great, you don't feel that sore. I don't know what human wouldn't feel sore after a good jiu-jitsu practice, but if you're feeling good, just keep pushing it, but listen to your body. More is better. So if you're going to class once a week, great. Welcome to jiu-jitsu. Maybe that's the only time that you have. It's better than nothing. It honestly is. So if you can come out 2, that's good. You're not going to learn a lot at 1 and 2. Well, if you're brand new, sorry, let me take that back. If you're brand new, you're always going to learn something. But if you're 6 months into it, if you're a year into it, you're more retaining. You're trying to retain the knowledge that you had. Yeah, something comes in, something comes out, right? So, 2 is a good start. When you're talking 3, now you're starting to give your time to absorb that knowledge, to use that knowledge. So you learn something at the beginning of the week. By the 3rd class in the week, you're already applying that knowledge. So I think the magic number is 3. Okay, if you can come out at least 3 times a week, I think that's tremendous. Again, if all you can do is 1 or 2 times, so be it. You'll find more time in your life. We'll have guys that'll come out 4 or 5 times. They're all in. They want to do all the tournaments. Then something happens in life, and then they disappear. When the events happen in life, you slow down your training. You come out the once, so your body is still acclimatized to the training. So then, when you do have more time, then you can spend more time in the gym. Second tip, I guess. There, okay. Second tip: pick your partners. If you're obviously we're the older group here. You want to pick older partners. Yeah, you can get along with some of the younger guys. You can train with them and so forth. But you need to have your core group of older guys that you can work with. If you can get the same body type, bonus. But try to stick with the older crowd that are going to work at your pace, have the same life stresses. Remember, you're not just working out your physical training. This is also mental health. We talk a lot about that in the gym, how jiu-jitsu is not just for physicality. It really does help from a mental health, mental issues perspective. Don't be afraid to hang around or train with higher belts. I would pursue it. Make friends with higher belts. We're looking for that next generation. We want to be friends. We want to help you. We want to encourage you. We want new people in the gym. We don't discourage. So never be intimidated when you're walking. I was like, oh, it's only higher belts here. Oh my God, they're salivating. They want to get at me. No, we're looking at it's like, okay, there's another guy to train with. Let's help him out. Again, especially the older crowd, we tend to look out for each other. Avoid the younger crowd. Yeah, if you know some of the kids, you can train with them, but be wary. Look out for meatheads, big bulky guys that don't only know how to smash. You don't need to get hurt. You got to go to work in the morning. Just say, hey, if they ask you to roll, you're not comfortable. Okay, something's in the back of your mind is saying, oh, this is probably not a good idea. Just say, no, thank you. I'm gonna have a little rest right now. Okay, so don't be shy to say no. All right. Number 3, we've talked about this in the video. Don't spaz. Breathe. Try to pace your breathing. Listen to yourself breathing. Okay. I spent a while just listening to myself breathe, trying to pace my breathing. Yeah, sometimes the pace increases. So increase, make sure you're breathing. Always be conscious of that. It's okay to lose. Again, you heard all this already. I'm not going to spend much time on it. It's okay. It's part of it. Tap. You got to learn how to escape. You're going to be on the bottom a lot, so work on your bottom game. Don't quit. Just accept. I got quit underlined here. I'm not too sure why. Quit. If you spaz, quit. No, don't quit. No, you don't want to quit. Spaz equals injuries. If you continue to go full out, you're just asking for injuries. You know what's going to happen as you're kind of exploding into it? Someone's going to react in a weird way, and you're both going to twitch in a certain direction. You're just asking for trouble. Number 4, embrace the journey. We talked about that earlier in the video as well. You're gonna get some injuries. You're gonna get poked. You're gonna get kneed. You're gonna be sore. You're gonna feel like you have so much to learn. Well, welcome. It's about looking for the small victories, not tapping in a particular role, learning a new technique. There's nothing that feels better than when you're working on a sweep or you're working on a submission and you finally get it. It's invigorating. And then no matter what, after any training session, a good session or a bad session, your body feels great. You feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. So keep on pushing. One of the things as black belts we say a lot, well, what's a black belt? How do you get a black belt? Well, you've heard this a million times, or we've heard it a million times. A black belt is a white belt that never quits. So in one of the Danaher videos, he goes, someone asked him, I think it was Lex, asked him, well, how do you get a black belt? What's the secret to getting a black belt? He said, show up and pay your dues. It really is that simple. It's such a systematic formula. You keep coming to the gym and building your knowledge within the gym. You build your knowledge from your instructors, you're building your knowledge from your training partners, and you're building your knowledge right now as you're watching YouTube videos and picking up as much information as you can. And finally, learn escapes and a guard. You're going to be on the bottom a lot, so you better learn how to play guard. You better learn how to get escapes. Learn how to keep those frames, the concept of framing. Where do they go? No, you don't want your elbows above your head. You want everything nice and tight. Learn how to shrimp. Most of the warm-ups that a lot of gyms do emphasize a lot of the techniques for escaping. So focus on that. Don't be afraid to get into bad position. Oh, every time I roll, I end up getting squashed on the bottom. Well, ask for help. Figure out how to get out of it. Where are you putting your hands? Where are you putting your legs? Where are you pushing off? And then obviously the next step is get a guard. Get to that half guard. How do you get from half guard to a close guard? Okay, those are all the beginning steps. And those are the 5 tips I have. So I hope you guys got some good info from that. Stay tuned for future videos on a bunch of topics. I've got some topics where how to use AI as your training partner and coach. I've got a bunch of technique. I've got a bunch of knowledge sharing sessions coming up. So stay tuned for more. Again, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know the type of content that you're interested in. Have a great day, and thanks for sticking with us.